Well, what a fantastic way to say good morning here from the African bush. Let's turn the game drive radio down. And I honestly can't think of a better way to say good morning. Welcome here to Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sand, South Africa. It is a stunning morning. We're on a safari and we've started with the same leopard we had from last night. We're going to tell you lots more about what's going on here. Just to quickly give you a view of where we're sitting, the sun rose literally about as we were sitting here waiting for you to join us 2 minutes ago. So it's that beautiful, magical time of the morning. It's nice and cool, not cold, just cool. And I'm looking forward to a fantastic day. We had such a brilliant drive yesterday afternoon, fantastic illies, great leopard sighting. And only afterwards, when we spoke with Stefan and Scott, who tracked this guy and found him for us, that we found out there was actually a kill in the tree. We didn't even see it yesterday. The leopard was so beautiful, just taking his sort of relaxed time on the ground. So, big good morning. We're going to have a lovely day and look forward to sharing it with you. My name is Peter Pretorius, and as always, we're going to be looking around in the bush. Brian, always nice to have you on camera, and Tara and Nikki back in control room, and the whole team, we're all down here. So, let's have a look. It doesn't really get better than that. For me, this is one of the ultimate things to see on safari, a leopard in any way or shape or form. But to have such a particularly beautiful leopard, I'll tell you why I like this guy so much a bit later. But to have such a stunning leopard up in a tree, yeah, this is like the postcard one sees. Obviously caught this young warthog yesterday sometime. Would have been during the day. And it looks like he's eaten most of it, so it wasn't a very big warthog. But this should keep him here at least for the morning, maybe for the rest of the day as well. Oh, they're beautiful. Hearing something now. It's not impossible that a hyena might pop up here at any minute. Maybe even another leopard. As soon as there's food in the bush, you know, that sort of sends out call it like a smelly advertising if you want. And I don't mean smelly in a negative way. For a hyena, another leopard, another lion, any predator, the smell of food is something they'll investigate normally. Which is also why these guys put it up in a tree. I mean, if you just look at where we're sitting here, we're sitting on a beautiful little, call it a small riverbed, or drainage line is actually what we refer to them around here. That's a big tree. It's called a weeping boerbean. Lovely big tree. Now that tree could be climbed by a lion, but not that easily. It's quite a big drop because the tree sort of hangs over the drainage line there. So it's a good spot for the leopard. Keep that food safe from other predators that might want to try and take it. So he knows he can sort of relax about his way and go about his things. Just have a look in there, that sort of in there, that's the drainage line. So it's good another probably 8 or 10 feet further down. And that would have probably been what the warthog used for his cover as well. Whoa, 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 the thing dropped. Guys, you see this happens in a second. He was busy eating and the carcass fell out the tree, and I think the leopard, because he knows there could be a hyena or there could be lion or anything at any second, he was down that tree in the shake of a tail. But guys, he's going to climb up again, so now we're going to see this guy in motion. He should though, I don't think he's going to stay down there. He's a bright cat. Oh, this leopard has got such a beautiful face. Also, they're at their most beautiful at this age, sort of 2-3 years old. Before they be mature, they're just very, very pretty almost, before they bulk up and get bigger. That's interesting that he's not going straight up the tree. I expect him to do so at any second though. He's got enough experience to know that you want to avoid that food being stolen. In fact, during the last week since we've been here, he'd killed a nyala bull, a big antelope, not far from here, only about 100 yards up the same riverbed. And that was stolen from him by a hyena. So he's learned that lesson in the same area within the last week as well. Which is sort of part of his character, but he's a very interesting cat. I find him quite entertaining. There's a great sense of personality about this guy, more so than, I mean, every leopard is individual, the same as every anything. But I find this cat particularly interesting. It's almost like he's got different takes on life, and like he plays a bit sometimes, and there's just something quite cool about him. But Kunyuma is about 2.5 years old, just under 2 years, about 5 months, almost 6 months actually, so I think 2.5 is correct to within a week or so. And him and his brother are around here. We saw his brother the other day, Q. Hopefully we might see him again today. He should be in the area. What's that? There's an alarm call. Far away, but there's an impala alarm call. Look at the leopard also looking in that direction. He wants to make sure if it's anything he should be concerned about. I think we'll let Scott and Stefan know when there's a chance. Down towards Gowrie Main. Sounds like about Twin Dams direction. There's some good alarm calls. It's one of the ways you follow up on finding predators, is you listen to the bush, you listen to the news out there, you listen to what's going on, who's saying what. Now, are the impala alarm calling? Impala don't alarm call for small things, they alarm call for leopard, lion. Via kudu alarm calling, follow that up. Squirrels can help as well when you get into the thick bush. They're the sort of, as you get closer to what you're looking for, the squirrels and the birds will be your helpers. Further away you're looking or listening for your bigger animals calling. All those things add into the information you have at hand. The storyline you can follow to stick or follow up on these animals during the day. So, he got a bit of an injury on his side of his mouth, or was it just dirty?
I think it's just dirty.
Just dirty, yeah. Good breakfast. Excuse me. See, because he's on the ground now, he's looking around quite a bit more, listening as well. He has to be very alert. There we go. Just making sure he doesn't get a surprise suddenly by a big predator. I think he's going to go up the tree shortly. I'm surprised he hasn't yet. Oh, beautiful light. Well, good morning, Lynn. Great question. Great observation as well. Just wondering why it is that we don't really see vultures that often when there are leopard kills, but with lions we normally or often see vultures. Lynn, it has to do with what we've actually been talking about. The fact that he's going to take this kill up in the tree. And we saw yesterday morning when we saw Shadow, that female with a cub. She had her kill sort of hidden under a bush. And leopards try and do that. They try and avoid detection by, well, anything really that can draw attention. So vultures would draw attention, and that would draw hyenas. Now for lions, that's not necessarily such a big concern because they are most of the time dominant over hyenas. But for leopard, they have to make sure that they don't get surprised by those guys. So they try and hide the kill either up a tree, under a bush, not only to prevent a hyena from taking it, especially up in a tree, but also trying to avoid, oh, there I can hear a hyena calling. Far away from the den, it sounds like, a kilometer or so. So the hiding of the food is to prevent anything really from finding it that could draw attention. So the vulture sees it, that would then draw attention to another vulture, and there's a bunch of vultures, that would then draw attention to hyenas, lions possibly, and they try and prevent that as far as they can. Oh, we've got beautiful light here. Look at that perfect side light. the whiskers as well, guys, while he's grooming himself. He looks over our way again. Leopards have got very prominent whiskers. All cats do. One of the functions of those whiskers that people don't always realize is that when they've caught something, those whiskers are touching up against the throat of the animal they've hunted. Now, 99% of the time, they kill their prey by suffocation. And those whiskers can actually feel the heartbeat in the neck or in the veins, or the artery really, and know when the animal's heart has stopped beating. So that's one of the functions of that, of the whiskers. Also very, very good for when they're walking around at night. Those whiskers are spread out, and it is wider than the face, wider than the shoulders, and when they're stalking, they keep their body in almost like a missile shape. We saw it yesterday when, no, day before yesterday, sorry, my days sort of blur into each other here. Day before yesterday with this guy's brother, Q, when he was hunting. They get themselves low down, and those whiskers can cover almost the whole area that they're going to move through. So it gives them a vibration or a physical touch sensation as to what they're going to move through. You must realize that everything on this animal has evolved, has adapted, has perfected itself to a point where a leopard must be one of the ultimate hunting, but also one of the ultimate survival animals. They're really good at surviving in all kinds of habitats, from desert to jungle, from places like this where they can live totally free without being concerned about being bothered by anything other than lions and hyenas, the normal stuff, but not by people, to places where they are heavily prosecuted, heavily looked for, heavily hunted, and they still manage to survive there as well. So they're great at not only adapting to all kinds of different habitats, but also great to adapting to all kinds of different conditions, if you want. In other words, species competition. And trust me, we all know this, no species provides greater competition to other species than our own. Just thinking back to that carcass falling out the tree, it's funny, that doesn't happen often because these guys know if that happens, the food's gone. But what amazed me is when we were showing it at the time where he's situated, what the area looks like with the habitat around him. And Brian's got a pretty quick hand. Back in the Old West, I think he'd be pretty handy with a 6-gun. And he whipped that camera around as quick as he could, and we got there as the leopard was down. It was less than, I'd say, probably half a second, but less than a second that the leopard followed that kill down. It's incredible how quick they are. I mean, it's something you've seen, I've seen, we will see again, hopefully at some stage, how they move, you know, when they're hunting or when they're getting away from something or when they're just playing. But they move in a way that it's almost like they make time stand still around them. And they sort of cut through it anywhere they want. I just love leopard. I mean, I'm sure you could pick that up. I'm sure many of you do as well. But they are just animals that, the more I see them, the more I know them, the more I experience them, the more they just absolutely captivate me. Got a game drive joining us from Voitela Lodge, Djuma, Aubrey and his guest. Nice people. I've spoken to them a few times over the last few days. One of the other great things sitting at a sighting like this is seeing the other game drivers that come and join us. And you just see these beautiful big smiles on people's faces. I just love that. Still think the latter. Morning, morning.
Morning, how are you?
Oh, excellent. As I said, lots of happy people here. It's a young warthog. Well, the last bits of it. Yeah. Guys are just wondering what he's eating. Perhaps if you've only just joined us in the last few minutes, you maybe missed the beginning of Drive. This is our live sunrise safari. And we were very fortunate to open up on this beautiful leopard right from the beginning. Same leopard we had last night at the end of Drive, Kunyuma. He was eating a warthog up in the tree, but he dropped it, and in the blink of an eye grabbed it again, but he's decided for now just to eat on the ground. I think it might also be actually, he because the food's almost finished. There's not that much left, so it might be that he's decided, well, if something takes this from me now, then so be it. Because you know, he's gotten most of the value from it, most of what he wants to eat. He's working on the skull, a little bit of the spinal column. Keep in mind it is early. We just heard hyenas calling from the den area. So it's not impossible that we're suddenly surprised here by hyenas coming in. Lions are always possible. Another leopard's always possible. But he has picked a perfect spot. What's he heard? Nothing major, maybe a little bird or a little small mouse finishing off the last bit of the night's activity, rustling in the undergrowth. Just something like that that sparked his attention. He's very alert. I mean, leopards, even if they're sleeping, any noise outside of the ordinary wakes them up. And one of the probably smallest noises that has the biggest effect is any rustling in the undergrowth. Now, anything that might be snapping a branch or crunching some leaves as it's walking. They always get their attention. I've got a beautiful setting, you know, that sun that rose only a few minutes back, already up in the sky and giving us the warm lights of what I think is going to be a beautiful hot day. And this leopard seems to be just relaxed and eating. We are going to see it more. I'm hoping that we can follow it up towards the water later to go for a drink. Trias Dam is not far away. So we're definitely going to have some more leopard moments this morning. But for now, HT is out there as well, also enjoying this beautiful morning start. And he's just going to say good morning to you. And who knows what he finds. Maybe he finds Q. This is my favorite leopard. His brother is HT's favorite leopard. So enjoy it on the vehicle with him, and we'll see you back here in a bit.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to another beautiful, beautiful day on Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves here in the magnificent, world-famous Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa. You're watching Wild Safari Live. I know you've been with Pete and that magnificent leopard this morning already. I just wanted to say hi and then we'll cut back to Pete. But welcome again. If it's your first time, this is a great journey and a great adventure to come on with us. And if you're a regular participant and you're on the back of our vehicle all the time, hi and good morning to you always. I'm with VM here this morning. VM and I have worked together for a long time. It's our second drive this stint, so it's great to be working back with him again, as it is with all the guys. And Tara directing with Nikki this morning. Fantastic to be working with them again. We're just sitting here at Buffelshoek Dam, just watching to see what's going to come down. It's quite beautiful around here. We just drove up. There's lots of different sort of talk on the radio this morning of leopards and hyena. And I just want to thank Sabira, our Zoomy, for giving us the heads up on some hyenas that's been spotted by on the camera this morning, which is fantastic. We're going to follow up on that. And I also want to just give you a bit of an update. Carol in California has asked about the schedule for this week and this weekend, particularly this weekend. On the 9th and the 10th, we're going to be broadcasting live on National Geographic Wild US. Okay, so if you're watching in the US, National Geographic Wild, but we'll still be broadcasting online both of those days, morning and night. There's also 2 fireside chats, consecutive fireside chats, Saturday and Sunday nights from 5:30 till 6. So the best thing to do, if it all sounds a bit confusing, is just go to the Nat Geo website and it'll all be on there, all the information you need. So thanks very much for that, Carol, and I hope you're watching with us, and I hope we see you this weekend as well. I'm just sitting here just for a little minute just to see if anything did come down. It's very quiet, but still very beautiful. And one of the beautiful things about sitting at a water point is you never know what's going to happen. There's mist coming through or just rising at the moment, burning off. This morning was very spectacular with mist filling every little valley, and we had such a beautiful drive down here. It's 15 degrees, 59 Fahrenheit, and a little bit chilly for us. We had the jackets and the scarves on this morning driving here, but you can just feel as the sun's touching your face, it warming up. The smells, we had beautiful, beautiful smells this morning coming through because of the moisture in the air. At any time that it goes past, any of the plants and the particular vegetation, you're getting these all different sweet smells coming through. It is just a spectacular morning, and we're going to carry on. We're going to go for a little bit of a drive and see what we can find. I'm listening to the Game Drive channel, of course. Really important that we keep in comms with that. Scott and Steph, the wonderful Scott and Steph, are out with their eyes as well, seeing if they can spot anything for us. And seeing, it's normally like what they can find, because they both of them together are a force to be reckoned with. We had some great questions yesterday. It was a really nice bit of fun yesterday afternoon for us. When we did leave you last night, we did get lost in this really lovely little spot. I'll just go through this dip and come out the other side, because we might lose a little bit of signal here. There's been elephant down here this morning, very fresh elephant dung just here. I did see just on the ground there next to us, very fresh, and there's lots of different tracks around it, but they could have been down here, even much before sunrise, and then move off into the vegetation. There's lots of elephant on the reserves at the moment, which is great. As you saw yesterday with Peter, that fantastic, unbelievable footage of that little calf who was being very, very tough. And I watched it last night. It was very funny, and I know everyone loved it to bits. He was just an absolute star, wasn't he? That little elephant. So that was great stuff. And I did talk about, there was a question yesterday about tracking, and it was a really great question about what were the, other than the obvious signs, the tracks on the road, how can we use the bush and tracks and signs. And one thing I forgot to say, well, it's quite a big thing, but I did go on a bit anyway, was that I didn't mention about all the other signals from other animals. Bird calls, alarm calls from squirrels, alarm calls from antelope, all different noises of the bush, vervet monkeys and just different other animals that give you an indication that there's a predator around, if you're looking for predators, that is. So all this adds up to this sort of bush newspaper, and it really does give you a good picture of what's going on in the bush. What a cracking morning. I like to come up these roads in the morning just to see if there's any tracks crossing. I know Pete's on the other side of the reserve with Kunyuma, so we wanted to just come and see if there's anything coming across the road or walking along the road. We've done one, what we call a cut line, which is the border of the reserve. We're going to do another one just down the side here. So I think, folks, whilst we're just looking through this lovely, lovely little spot up here, Hippo Pools Road, we're going to cross back to Pete because I know he's still with that leopard, and I'll come back to you as soon as we find something. We'll keep our ears to the radio. We'll see you just now.
Always exciting, the morning drives, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. Well, it's like that the whole time on drive, but in the mornings it's especially so. Lots of things could have changed during the night. So I always love going out in the mornings. I know HT does as well. We're very lucky this morning that we could start with this beautiful leopard. He hasn't really moved much, eating a bit, looking around a bit. We just heard a hyena calling quite a bit closer, I would say, at Treehouse Dam perhaps, 300 yards or so, a couple hundred yards away from here. So leopard listened to it, didn't pay too much attention. He knows he's got a big tree right behind him. It'll take him less than half a second to be up there, so he's not too concerned, but there are hyenas around, and as I said, whoa, and elephant, exactly. That's a big noise coming there from elephant, and the branches you're hearing, that's coming from another vehicle. That's Ephraim, Cheetah Plains Lodge, coming to join us. Very lucky and very happy guest this morning on the other game drive vehicles. These guys only have 1 or 2 or 3 days, 4 days, depending on how long they stay, to see these kind of things. So don't have the opportunity to come on many drives like you do. So it's a real treat seeing one of the most magnificent of the animals that you can see in Africa. Especially in such a beautiful way as we do have this morning. Morning, Ephraim. I think I'm going to F for get I'm going to make a little bit of space here for Ephraim. We've got another vehicle joining us, and we do work together here, so let's make a little bit of space for him so that they can see better, and also we can have a slightly different view. Come for? You don't mind if I stop in front of you, do you? No, I'm just kidding. Well, guys, we're just busy re-maneuvering a bit. Alright, sorry, a bit of moving there, but just making a little space for Ephraim as well to join so that he can see nicely. Still sort of the same situation we were a couple of minutes ago. Leopard just casually feeding on the last of the warthog carcass. We've heard some elephants in the distance, we've heard a hyena, so we know there's some other big animals around. Lovely sounds here from the bird life around here. It's white-browed scrub robin doing its singing up the riverbed here. Honchi, Mampimpane honchi. Oh, great question. Hello, Jeffrey. Actually, parts of Texas where you're from looks very similar to parts of Africa that I've been to as well. I haven't spent much time in Texas. I drove through there once years ago. But Jeffrey has just noticed the tail tip of that leopard just twitching a little bit. And just asking if what it's about. What is it showing, or what is it telling, or what is the message in it? And the tail tip of a leopard, I'm trying to think, I can't really compare it to something in a human. I guess you could compare it to the fingertips of a human perhaps, but also some facial expressions. The tail tip can convey a lot of messages for us as observers, but even more so for leopard to other leopards, a mother with cubs for instance. That white tail tip very clearly visible so the cubs can easily follow it. From our side we can see when the leopard is excited or when it's curious about something. You see the tail tip a little bit, but when they get very excited, for instance when they're busy hunting, just before they pounce, that tail tip is almost, it's not twitching, it's almost vibrating, almost like the rattle of a rattlesnake. You know, it can almost be, you know, at a high frequency. Also, of course, a very practical aspect to the tail itself. Leopards have got rather heavy, quite muscular tails, so great for balance as a counterweight when they're busy climbing, so they can sort of correct their balance if need be with the tail. And then I've also watched them, often leopards use their tail in a very sensitive way as well. And this is when leopards bond with each other. In other words, mainly mother and cubs that you see it in, or siblings with each other. When they greet, those tails literally caress each other. They walk past each other and the tail curls around the body or around the neck, and it's beautiful to watch. I've often compared the tail of a leopard to the ostrich feathers back in the days, you know, when people wore big feathers in their hats and long swords. You know, the feathers were very elegant, I guess, and with leopard, it reminds me of that sometimes. But certainly a lot of expression and a lot of emotion almost, or the state of the leopard you can tell from the tail. One of the ways, which we don't see often from our side because they don't mind the vehicles, but if you get close to them on foot sometimes and they getting a bit agitated, that tail can sort of beat almost like a whip onto the ground as well. Same with lions when they give you a mock charge or a charge. It's you do notice the tail during those conditions. You do notice the message there, I guess. If hey, busy guy, there's a leopard. There's a leopard in front of us. There's a hyena coming from the right. The vehicle on the right hand side. They just spotted the hyena. Something's going to happen here. I expect that leopard to flash up that tree, so be ready. Yeah, there he's heard it. Yeah, he's going to grab it. Watch, watch, watch. This is going to be quick. Oh, and there's the hyena. Just like that. No stress though. The leopard didn't tense. He didn't worry. He knows what he can do. He had his plan. He's left something down there for the hyena as well. So now we've got two happy predators. Guys, and this is a spotted hyena. If you don't know all the different predators, Get a couple of different hyena species. We actually started with a question the other day and we never finished it. We'll do this a bit later today, how many hyena species we get. In fact, you might as well let us know now. How many hyena species do we get in Africa, and how many hyena species do we get potentially here at Djuma and Kruger National Park area? You can let us know by hashtag Safari Live if you want to tweet, or email it straight through to questions@wildearth.tv. The same avenues you use for asking questions or leaving comments or just saying good morning. Remember, we used to in the early days, we'd often have the morning starting, we just get mails coming through. Good morning, how are you? Look forward to the drive. So how many hyena species do we get in Africa, and how many hyena species can we see down here in the Lowveld? Well, this warthog will probably be used, or almost all of it will be used. Maybe the skull will be left. Maggie, you're just asking, any parts of the leopard, any parts of the warthog the leopard won't eat. Oh, listen to that, this beautiful sound. You can see the hyena is really listening. The leopard's not really paying attention. Now he's up in a tree, he knows that sound was a hyena. He knows not to worry about hyena. They're not really good at climbing trees. But Maggie, just to finish your question, the leopard will leave certain of the bigger bones, sort of the big femur bones and the skull, the tusks obviously. Although this was a baby warthog, there are no tusks there yet. But if the kill drops out of the tree, hyenas will eat almost everything of that warthog. Being a young warthog, the skull even is not that thick and big yet, so in this case, I think probably everything other than the teeth, the jawbone, sort of the really hard parts of the skull will be left. Almost all the rest of it will be used by either the leopard or the hyena. There's another hyena call. Whoop. I don't think that hyena has left. I think he's just gone down into the drainage line to see if there's any other scraps that have fallen down from the tree. So just getting the little bits of breakfast he can. Here's the hyena coming back again. He's just done a little circuit around the tree. He knows, again from previous experience, that if a leopard is eating up in the tree, inevitably little bits and snippets of food will fall down. So he just did a quick check. Hyenas have got exceptional sense of smell, even compared to other wild animals or other predators. So he would have just walked around the tree and he would have quickly sniffed out anything that was worthwhile eating. And now he's going to use the greatest attribute of all hunters. He's going to be patient and wait for some more. Well, good morning to Ellen. Ellen is one of our good friends that have been coming on drives for a long time. And like so many of you, we all know each other. that sense of community is really great. So Ellen, nice to know you on Drive with us, and great to be able to say good morning as well. It's not always we get the opportunity to do so. Just asking where we are. For many of you, this is maybe one of your first drives. The big answer to that is we're in South Africa, southern end of Africa, in Djuma Game Reserve, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. But for those of you like Ellen that know the area intimately by now, to be specific, we are about, I'd say, 250, 300 yards downstream or downhill from Treehouse Dam, which is towards the east, next to a big bourbon tree right on the drainage line. So almost exactly due east of Treehouse Dam. The hyenas that we can hear calling, just listen quickly. Of course, they stop calling when you say that, but you'll hear them again just now. That hoo in the distance, those hyenas are at the hyena den, so they're about northwest from us. Well, you never know. It's not impossible that there are more hyenas to join. Over the last few minutes after this hyena joined, obviously, Kunyuma the leopard back up in the tree. The hyena's done his little sort of sweep circuit, just walking around, seeing if there's any scraps to pick up. Sorry guys, let me take my jacket off. We've gone from a cool morning to it becoming warm very rapidly now. The sun is definitely on today. It's not impossible for other hyenas to join, although the communication we're hearing is coming from the den side. And there's not really much food here anyway. There's a few snacks, you know, half a banana kind of thing. Not something that's going to fill up the hyena, but certainly something a hyena will be able to utilize. Hey! That's what he was waiting for.
It took off.
You know, there's a lesson there. If Mr. Miyagi was on safari, he would say, you know, food comes to those that wait, kind of thing. Whether you're an antelope waiting for the rains, a leopard waiting for the pounce, or a hyena waiting for the food to fall in your lap. Just have to know when to wait and where to wait. Guys, great. There's a bit of a discussion going on Twitter. Hashtag Safari Live if you want to join it. As to the hyena question from earlier, how many hyena species we get in Africa, and how many hyena species here at Djuma, or sort of this part of the Kruger Park. And one answer was 3. Of which 2 are possibly found here. I mean, theoretically we should be able to find Aardwolf here as well. I can't see why not, but let's get back to that in a bit. I might be giving away a little something there. The hyena species we can find here, the spotted hyena, quite numerously and quite common. We see them often. Not common, but I mean occurring fairly frequently. And then we do see brown hyena here, but it's once every blue moon. We saw it once live on Wild Earth years ago. I think that was the first time in over a decade. But guys, you get 4 species of hyena in Africa. I think Chris had that. I know many others had that as well. The 4th species doesn't actually have the name hyena attached to the name. So let's start with the clearest ones, or the most obvious ones. We've got spotted hyena that we've been looking at. Where is he going? Especially this leopard, you know, he could just be getting up to funny business. Maybe he's just going to try and, I don't know, jump on the hyena. not really, but he's a bit of an odd cat sometimes. So spotted hyena, brown hyena that we have seen here, not far from here, actually close to Treehouse Dam. Striped hyena, which is more northern Africa, it's not really around here. Very similar to the brown hyena. Whoop, almost a leopard out of the tree there. It's very funny if you see a leopard fall out of the tree. They feel a little bit sort of embarrassed, I think. I've seen them look around hoping that no one saw it happen. Oh, I wonder if he's going to come down. It's not the greatest tree that for sleeping in. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Maybe he's trying to get that food back. And then just to finish, the fourth species of hyena there is the aardwolf. So it's the spotted hyena, brown hyena, striped hyena, all very descriptive ones, brown, spotted and striped. And the fourth one, the hyena's still down there, the leopard's just checking him out. He's a bit like, hey man, I'm faster than you. The fourth one is the aardwolf, which is also a hyena species, part of the same family, but not really a scavenger in any way. In fact, aardwolf has got very, very specifically adapted or evolved teeth, and they eat termites. They're specialists at eating all other insects as well. They'll also eat other insects and ants and things, but termites is what they specialize on. You get them a lot in the Kalahari, sort of your savanna type environments, not quite as thick and as lush as here. Oh, he's snarling at the hyena. He's like, hey, this could be interesting, bit of interspecies, let's call it awareness rather than rivalry. Amazing. It's always interesting when you see two different species interact, especially if they both predators, both have their strengths and weaknesses. We had a question from the vehicle just now, and the name has just slipped my mind. I'll get it again just now, but I'm just asking how high can a hyena jump? Well, that's rather specific body shape, big shoulders, lower back, which is adapted for long distance sort of trotting, or like a sort of a loping run, as well as being able to carry heavy carcasses quite a distance. But that body design is not really great for jumping. In fact, they can't even jump as high as a dog of similar size. I've seen them jump a little bit, sort of more rearing onto the back legs, but jumping is not a big part of their sort of physical forte. I think the question was aimed at the point or the fact that, you know, could he jump and grab the food from the tree? But they're not really good at that. They can sort of get as high as they can stand on their back legs, a little bit higher than that. Both grooming. The hyena doing a bit of grooming, leopard doing a bit of grooming. Morning, Marco. I think we might have a similar sort of sense of humor. I was going to refer to it as, you know, bacon breakfast a bit earlier, and I thought it might be a bit, you know, cheesy. Mark, I presume you agree with the pun in that, because we obviously have a similar take on things. But Mark was just asking, how far can they smell that? How far can predators smell the bacon, or in this case the warthog, the carcass from a hunt, especially referring to the hyenas. Hyenas have got an exceptional sense of smell, something I think, I'm sure, is still beyond what we can really comprehend. You know, I can't even think of a good analogy of it. It would be like saying, yeah, and I can't compare it to something, but they have a sense of smell that is beyond of what we can imagine. You know, it is, if we were to go back to the libraries of Alexandria a couple of hundred years ago, and we compare that to modern day Google and Wikipedia, maybe it's like that. Back in the day, there was a library that you could go find a book in if you knew where to look and what you're looking for and understood the question. These days, you punch it in and you get it. I think it's a bit like that. Now, hyenas walk around and they just pluck little bits of information out of the air. but they could smell a carcass like this. I mean, obviously there's many things playing roles in the conditions in terms of the temperature, the wind direction. Is there a breeze? Is it gusty? Is it hot? Is it cold? All those things play a role. How fresh the carcass is. But hyenas can smell carcasses kilometers away. We've got a couple of game drive vehicles moving. That's the sounds you're hearing. Making space for the other guys. Very nice of them letting us enjoy the sighting for so long. Cheers guys, enjoy, eh? See you another time. Bye bye. Cheers Willem. Guys, a little bit of commotion here at the moment. We're going to move just now as well, just to try and see if we can see Kunyuma. He's gone into the deep dip there. But just while the vehicles are moving, Ephraim and Aubrey are moving out. I think we've got one other vehicle coming to join us. Maybe just a quick background again for those of you that don't know this reserve that well yet and how it works, but it's a private reserve, and therefore we can control the sightings nicely. 2 or 3 vehicles in a sighting only. So many benefits that comes with that, and the big benefit is the intimacy, the beautiful way we experience these animals. Speaking of animals, speaking of experiencing them, while this leopard has disappeared, there's something much bigger than this, just as interesting, and something I know you're going to have a good time with. So have a nice time with HT, and I'll see you back in a bit.
So folks, we've just pulled up here with a couple of bachelors, a couple of elephant bachelor boys, and they've got a little bit of, they're a bit cheeky, these two, and there's one directly down behind us in the drainage line as well. These two just gave me a little bit of attitude and told me to move out of the way, but I could just tell as I walked up, as I drove up, they were up for a bit of a discussion with me. They're just young. They're adult bulls, but they're just a little bit younger than the big sort of hulky bulls that you get around. These massive hulks that walk around, they're a little bit better and a bit quieter in temperament. So they're just being a little bit cheeky. They're absolutely fine though. He just came and gave us a little display. He might do it again, but we're on standby just to move out of the way for him. It's all right, my boy. It's okay. We're not here to hurt you, buddy. It's okay. Just giving a little bit of attitude. I'll just turn around the other side for you, VM. And these males would be males that have been moved out of the herd, and they move out of the herd at about all different ages. It just depends on their teenage behaviour, their adolescent behaviour, really. That's what it really does boil down to, whether the cows can tolerate. I can't quite see if there's an elephant behind me there. There's a nice shot just down there. Just going to keep my eye on him. He's fine. He's just giving a little bit of he's having a bit more of a play, really, just pushing his weight around. But it really does depend on that adolescent behaviour, on whether the females will tolerate the boys anymore, and then they get pushed out. Excuse me, and then they end up joining a bachelor herd, and that bachelor herd can be, gosh, anything from 2 bulls to 35, 40 bulls. There's been recordings in East Africa of over 100. So, and they would be like all different ages. But you get those really big hulks, the big bulls that are, they're the ones that are a little bit more quiet, and they stay in sort of swamps and drainage lines for most of their time and just retire. They normally just go back to the female herds when the females are in estrus. So these boys are just having a nice browse this morning in this early morning sun. So 3 bulls. This boy here is probably the biggest one, and I'm just going to get around the other side here so you can see him a bit better. You'll see that beautiful, beautiful skin pattern. I don't want to make him feel like we're right behind him, but we are right behind him, but I don't want him to feel like we're boxing him in. He's completely comfortable, and that was just a little bit of teenage behaviour. Well, he's more than a teenager, that's for sure, but sort of young bull behaviour, throwing his weight around earlier. Just before we cut live, he did sort of have his ears out, sort of giving me a big display. But he's absolutely fine. Once they get used to you and you show them that you're not invading their space, you're absolutely fine to sit with these guys. None of them are in must, which is the sexual activity period where you'll see the secretion coming out of the gland behind the eye. And that's spelled M-U-S-T-H, must. And it's quite a strong, quite a pungent smell. It increases when the animal's in periods of sexual activity, and he's not in that period at the moment, so they're fine. They're absolutely fine. There's some lovely, just down below VM, there's a lovely, I'll reverse back for you, but just goes to show the dexterity of the trunk. There's a bull down in here reaching up really high. Just can't quite get there. I'm going to just come around. It's all right, my boy. It's okay, my boy. He's just through there. Can you see that, Liam? Alright. Just picking off the little bits, exact pieces of vegetation that he wants. That dexterity is really obvious there. That beautiful trunk. Lovely sort of subsonic little rumble he just gave out then. It was in a frequency range that our ears could pick up then, so it wasn't quite subsonic, but there's a lovely sort of grumble that comes from their chest and their throat. It's a beautiful sound. So yeah, very old bulls, I always find just extraordinary to be around, because they're like weathered old ancient things that can live up to sort of 50, 60, 65 years of age sometimes in old places, but very rarely, very, very rarely. For sort of 40s is the normal sort of age they get to. And in the wild, of course, they're living their lives through their sets of molars, through their sets of teeth. And once they get to their last set of teeth, that's pretty much it. You'll start to find that the vegetation they eat is a much softer vegetation because their teeth have worn down to a degree that they can't really go through the bark and the roughage that they used to in their earlier days. But he's a lovely, lovely boy. Thanks, fellas. Haven't seen a bachelor herd. We've had loads and loads of interactions with breeding herds, which is matriarch and related females. Quite nice. Just one last shot there. Sorry, I was going to move on, but I'll come back. I just want to go down to that trunk again so you can see. There's just a lovely bit of light. He might move on, but I might get down there a little bit closer. I think he's fine now, this guy. I'll come back a bit for you, Via. So I'm just sort of repositioning ourselves. And it's like going through a little buffet for the elephants. They choose whatever species they feel like at the time. Some will be eating bark. Some will be eating. I don't know what that's like for you, mate. It's a little bit tricky in there. The foliage is quite thick. But just sometimes I'll just chew on the. I'll chew on the branch or the small shrub as it's standing. And what happens with this is the effect of elephant browsing. There's no animal really on the planet that changes the landscape, like other than humans and elephant really. They are real landscape changes, and you know, one of the things, the funny things, I always hear that term elephant damage. Well, it is damage when these animals are in areas that are much smaller than what the home ranges used to be because of habitat loss. But when habitat loss wasn't an issue, these animals would have moved through vast areas and changed the landscape over time, and over time that those little woodlands would have become savannas or open grasslands, which would bring in other animals and changes the habitat to suit the species that need it. It's okay, my boy. It's all right. So it's really important to remember that elephants play a massive role in habitat change, and other animals benefit from that. It's just when the concentration of elephants is so high in a very small area that we start to refer to as damage. I've got a lovely question from Dylan. Hi Dylan. Dylan's in Cedar Falls, and Dylan, welcome aboard, mate. Great to have you. And you said it's storming, or it's thunderstorms or something at the moment in Cedar Falls. I love thunderstorms. I think thunderstorms are fantastic. A lot of animals don't like them, particularly our pets and things like that. But Dylan's question is whether elephants change their behaviour when it's a thunderstorm. Well, Dylan, I've seen elephants in all different types of weather conditions, and thunderstorms don't seem to worry. I mean, unless it's a lightning strike quite close to them, then I'm sure that's going to scare any creature. But I've seen them just standing, and it's magnificent memory I have of Amboseli National Park in Kenya, of a thunderstorm, lightning bolts hitting the ground, like that extraordinary sort of scene that you think's out of a film, with elephants in the foreground, big bulky elephants in the foreground, and a thunderstorm happening in the background with lightning bolts. Beautiful memory. Didn't change their behaviour. Lots of thunderclaps and noise, and they were just carried on feeding. But one of the things I do love watching is when elephants do love the rain. I've seen them get really silly and playful because some of the vegetation or the landscape that normally isn't slippery, once you get a lot of rain on it, a little embankment can become a huge amount of fun for elephants, and they'll roll around and slide down the embankment and fall over, and just sort of the sort of thing you saw yesterday with Pete and his elephants. So to answer your question, Dylan, in a nutshell, they don't really seem to change their behaviour unless obviously there's a lightning bolt quite close to them. I think they just carry on regardless. But really great question. I hope you're warm and you're dry, mate, there in Cedar Falls. Thanks very much, Dylan. Welcome aboard. Excuse me. Sniffling. Just turning the Game Drive channel back up a little bit, folks, so I can hear what's going on. I know Scott and Steph are out there, and it sounds like Pete's having a fantastic encounter with Kunyuma. We're just coming up now to Viatella Dam. We'll just have a little look there. There's a lot of elephant activity. Let's see what's around the next corner. listening to the Game Drive channel, folks. Sorry, I'm just going to have a quick listen while you have a look at the dam here. See, is it? Got a hippo in the middle here. Just while I listen to the radio, folks, please bear with me. So we've still got this lone hippo in here, folks. It's a bull. He doesn't seem to have any females coming through at the moment. I've seen a lot of hippo in here. And I'm just looking for a spoonbill that was here yesterday. I got a question from a lady yesterday, was it a spoonbill? I'm trying to find that for her again. And it was a spoonbill. But it's not here. So we'll move on, keeping on looking. So we just came along from those elephants. I had a look at Viatella Dam. I wanted to try and find, there's a juvenile spoonbill there yesterday. And I just want to find it for the lady who was watching. I didn't pick up on it and she wanted to know if it was, so I just want to try and find that again. So we'll come back each time and have a look at that. I just want you to see that, that area just there in front of me. That area I'll just get my head out of the way. Hang on, that's probably better for you, mate. So if you just have a look at that, it doesn't look like much, does it? But another track and another sign, really, or another sign of an animal's presence. And that is a hippo dung area where it will actually spray its tail and spread its dung. All that area right all around there is just all that area just there is hippo dung, just in that section there. It's a bit hard to differentiate. It's dry, and the animal would come out at night and put that dung down and mark his territory. But I'll show you some hippo dung up close and personal another day, when we do another little one of our dung quizzes. So remember, if you've got any questions, please send them out to us. You can tweet them to us at #SafariLive. You can email them to us at questions@WildEarthTV, and we're more than happy to answer them. We try and answer as many as we possibly can. But sometimes if we're in the middle of a sighting, we could get hundreds of questions, and we'll obviously try and spread them around the best we can. Just going to travel along here, see what we can see. I've got a question from Carol in Montana, and Carol's wanting to know, I mentioned that elephants, when they get older, they might try and want to eat softer vegetation, because they're down to their last set of molars, their last set of teeth. As they go through their life, their teeth move forward through their jaw. They get 6 sets of teeth. They lose those. Once they've lost the last set, it's basically off to the great savannah in the sky for them. And I've seen some incredible behaviour with elephants, particularly older elephants, well, I've seen a lot of elephants do it of all different ages. Softer vegetation, Carol, is going to be things like tender leaves, tender grass. They won't be going for things like bark and roots and things like that. They'll be going for the softest foliage they can possibly get their hands on, their trunk on. I have seen some elephants, particularly in more equatorial Africa, but I have also seen it down in South Africa when they're in a riverbed or they're in a very abundant watered area in the middle of the rains. And if they do pull out some sedges or grasses out of the water's edge, they'll actually wash the sand off the roots with their trunk, just like a tea bag in the water, and they'll eat them then. So preserving or conserving their teeth. Now, here's a little road that I think we should go down. And this road, Liam and I went down many, many moons ago. We had a beautiful elephant encounter down here, and over time it was a really old road and we found it, and then Scotty and VM have frequent this road. It's a little road that joins us up with at Philemon's Cut Line, correct, mate? Or Philemon's Dip, yeah. I haven't been down this for some time, and you know I like my little less trodden paths. It's a bit bumpy, folks, but always worth going down one of these little roads. You never know what you could bump into. So Carol, to answer your question, they would be eating the softer vegetation, the leaves and the grasses. Yeah, that's what I meant by softer vegetation. Make our way around here, and I just got to negotiate this. It's a little bumpy through here, so apologies for the bumps. Winland on Twitter. Hello, Winland. Lovely to have you aboard. And Winland's question, you're interested to know, Winland, other than tracks, dung, and alarm calls or other animals, what else is there that trackers or trail guides or any of us for that matter would use? Well, there's something, Winland, that I can't put my finger on, and I don't think anyone. Science has mapped the brain to a point where they pretty much know where everything happens in your brain. One thing scientists haven't mapped is intuition. They don't know where intuition sits in the brain. They don't know where that instinct is in the brain. And I guarantee you that, if you ask Steph about that as well, that is the thing that he will tell you that you just can't put a handle on. A tracker's intuition, after they have done the simple tracking and then the systematic tracking and then they've gone on to the intuitive tracking, it's just something within you that would tell you that that animal has gone that direction, or that animal is in that bush over there, or that animal isn't here anymore or has moved that direction. There's something very special about it. It's like a magic. It really is. Thank you for your question. Okay. The old girl is just needing a little bit of time. We might cross over to Pete and see what he's up to, just whilst I give his vehicle a little rest, and we'll come back and see you just now.
Well guys, we're down here in the riverbed in the Milwaukee. You can see the nice sandy drive. We looked around for Kunyuma, but he'd gone into that deep drainage line, that deep donga, what we call it, that sort of deep ditch. And knowing him, just the other day, we tracked him a little bit into one of those. He's just found a little place where he's hidden from everything. He's probably going to take a nap, so we weren't going to find him this morning, I think, or not at the time. Gut feeling maybe a little bit later in the morning he might go drink at Treehouse Dam. HT will go have a look there. A little bit of something with Wendy there. You must realize that as with the broadcast, as with all the technical things to bring you all the way to Africa for the game drive, to enable that, also these vehicles, this one and Wendy that HT is in, they work very, very hard. I mean, they truly, you know, go where no other cars can go, kind of thing. So something there, I'm sure we'll get it sorted out. In the meantime, we're enjoying the riverbed. Lots of elephant tracks around. 3 or 4 places we've had. There's another place. Elephants have crossed the riverbed. And there's more tracks. We're just around the bend. Just around the river bend. So my little daughter is 3.5, so I know Pocahontas very well. And we're just around the river bend from Twin Dams, where another group of monkeys were calling earlier. So the frequency of it has sort of disappeared a bit, so whatever it was might have gone, but we are going to go have a look. Might be that there's another leopard, might be something else, but we will know within the next minute or so. Getting nice and warm when we were sitting with that leopard. We were sitting in the sun. It was the sort of that early morning baking, if you want. Very lovely, but as soon as we started moving we had to put jackets on again. It's still nice and fresh, especially down in the riverbed here, because obviously cooler air is denser, heavier, so you've got your cooler air lower down, warmer, higher up. Let's see, always have to be looking around everywhere, driving anywhere in the bush. I mean, anything could be anywhere, but especially, oh, for a second I thought I saw something, but I did. There's a game drive vehicle. They're going to check down the river. We're going to climb up onto the bank up here towards the waterhole. Let's see. Hold on. Not seeing any tracks immediately. First glance. Here's the waterhole. Check everything, on the ground, under the trees, in the trees. Also no more monkey calls. They seem to have stopped calling. Whatever was around here earlier either has moved along or might be further south. There's a place called the Boon Pan in the neighboring area, and I know that that's an area where the monkeys often hang around because there's some nice big trees there. But let's just stop here for a minute. It's always nice to stop at the waterhole. Oh, there's a nice monitor lizard enjoying that sunshine I was talking about earlier. A little bit far, but we should be able to see him all right. And also just listen. Always nice around the waterholes. Just to, where is he now? Oh, there's 2 of them actually, but that's the better one. Yeah. There's another one there as well, but that's the better one. Look at that. You could say there's 2 just there. The reflection is so perfect. Nice full belly. This lizard has had a good meal recently. And this is a water monitor or a Nile monitor lizard. Pretty good size one, this. I mean, they get bigger than that, but this one would be about, I'd say a little bit over a meter, so 3, maybe even 3.5 foot nose to tail tip. also just listen. It's always nice at the waterholes. A little bit far away, but I can hear some grey lories. Here's the other one. You can't see this one very well. Let me just make sure it is. This is a smaller one. Perfect place for them. Monitor lizards, the water monitor, are very, very good swimmers. And the rock monitor, the other species we get here, them you find normally more in rocky outcrops or hiding in trees, sort of the general bushveld. You can see, maybe we can get a little bit closer. I expect we might go into the water then. Let's have a look. Beautiful specimen. That's really good condition, healthy. As I said, full belly. I think that's maybe a... I think if we go closer, he's just lifted his head up a little bit, so he's aware of us getting closer now. So great. So it's quite dark. In fact, I'm wondering if it might not be shedding its skin somewhere in the next while. Sometimes you get the markings more prominent. If you look at the face, you've got the sort of yellow and light green, brown blotches. Very, very good for camouflage in the sort of vegetation that you get around and on the edges of waterholes and rivers. Obviously in the big river systems you get monsters of these guys, really big ones. A friend of mine once caught one of these. It was a Madikwe game reserve, and he caught it in the water, which is incredibly difficult, but he did it in quite a funny way. He essentially just let the thing bite and latch onto his hand, and they can really sort of latch on, and he pulled it out, you know, without holding onto it, purely by the monitor holding onto him. But the point of the story is that they measured it, not exactly, they didn't have a measuring tape, but Steve's about 183, he's 6 foot, and it was very close to the same length as his height. So these guys can get up to 5-6 feet, even close to 6 feet. This guy, as I said earlier, probably about 3.5 foot. Although it's deceptive sometimes looking at things and estimating their size, like an elephant. An elephant far away looks big, but not that big. When the elephant comes and stands to put his trunk on the bonnet, or as the hood, as many of you might call it, the front of the car, then suddenly you realize how big an elephant really is. One of the most beautiful African sounds you can hear. I'm sure you could hear that just now. That was an African fish eagle. We saw him here the other day at this dam, actually, flying around. Just calling there in the distance. Right, well, the monitor's going to enjoy the sun. I'm not going to go closer. He's, oops, sorry. He's enjoying the morning sun baking session. Quick look, I saw something in the bush there, which I think is a log, but what is that? Have a closer look. I'm not sure what it is. Alright, well, I think it's just nothing, but I'm just going to go past there anyway. Can't quite make out what it is that I saw there. Morning, Lulu. You are wondering, what do monitor lizards eat? They eat sort of, you know, you could almost say anything. They hunt to some extent, they scavenge to some extent. They'll eat little dead things, you know, small birds or insects or things that might have drowned in the water. Things they can catch in the water. Bird eggs, for instance, is one of the things they eat quite often. So birds that nest around. I mean, this dam is sort of a limited, you know, concentrated space where these two guys live in. But you know, also on big river systems and things, we've got lots of big reed beds. You know, they would find crocodile eggs, even other monitor lizards' eggs probably as well. Let's find my way here. and catch those things. I mean, it's not like they're going to hunt a bird, but you know, if the opportunity comes along, they'll catch it. If they come across a nest that doesn't have eggs in anymore but has the young chicks, they would eat those. So pretty much anything. They're very, I mean, they small dragons really. So anything small dragons would have eaten, these guys would eat. Have a look. As I said, I think it was nothing, but there's just something about it that I thought, let's rather make sure it's nothing. Where was it? Ah, one of our favorite characters in the bush. And this is a different species. You get a few different kinds of hornbill. This is a red-billed hornbill. As you may have guessed from the name, their bill is more red in color as opposed to the yellow-billed hornbill, which has got a more blue bill. Just checking if you're awake. The yellow-billed hornbill obviously has a yellow bill. And then you get the red bill and the grey-billed hornbills. That's the three kinds you see around here quite often. Right, well, he was doing a bit of grooming. Now he's going looking for some food.